We're living in the final part of the last days, undoubtedly the final part of the final part of the last days.
This is the end of the world. This is the end of the world.
Hello and welcome to the Last Days live stream, the show that brings welcome levity to the end of the world, lifting the spirits of many of you battling boredom, loneliness, or anxiety by infecting as many as possible with comfort and distraction as the apocalypse unfolds. How on earth are you all? Sorry for the delay. I've been frantically scrambling. I tell you what, this last day's quiz, it's getting serious. You're going to see what I mean later on in the show. And I allow myself time before each show to get some of the questions finalized. But there's never enough time, is there? Because you come across one quote and you think, okay, that's interesting. And then you come across another quote and you think, oh, you could spend all day doing it. Anyway, I think I'm more or less prepared for the quiz. Let's take a few of the comments. Where's everyone watching from? Nice to see you all amusing yourselves while waiting for the show to start. Lancer Choate says, here we go. Let's see here. May Jehovah's hand bless this live stream, says Renato. We're going to be hearing actually from Renato later on in the show. Arthur's been prowling, it seems, in the live chat. He's currently waiting in the green room. But Eric is saying hello to him there. Let's scroll through, blah, 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 blah. Ohio is represented by Outer Darkness. Hello, Outer Darkness. Denver is represented. So welcome, Gina. Legoland, that's got to be a new one. Welcome, Andre, from the Legoland Windsor Resort. Gosh. So if you like Lego, Andre is in your Mecca, it seems. Eric Larson says, your knights are ready and waiting, Arthur. Wow, it seems that Arthur has been recruiting, ladies and gentlemen. He is gathering an undercurrent of support for his Arthur's Knights. They are his hidden support during the show, egging him on. We'll see whether they are successful. Montreal is represented by Timothy Johns. Hello, Timothy. Cindy Arnold is here. Hello, Cindy. Vancouver, Washington is represented by Scott, as is Sacramento, California by Deborah. Lots of people tuning in, 156 across Facebook and YouTube as we start the show. Crazy Florida. I didn't know Florida was crazy. Mind you, from what I've been hearing in the news, maybe it is crazy at the moment. So hello, Marilyn, Joan, and commiserations. Something about theme parks being opened. That's what I've heard about Florida. Let's see here. Outer Darkness says, Arthur, I think you do some of your best work impromptu. Don't encourage him, Outer Darkness. Good luck with today's lyrics. So some nice comments to start the show with. I hope you're all doing well. We do, as you know, need to move on to another publication. Or we don't need to. I just thought it would be nice to spruce things up. And I've decided to, how can I put this? We're going to stay closer to home, I think, when we're coming to the Jehovah's Witness experience. Oh, thank you so much, Gina, for the super sticker. That's very generous of you. Thank you. We're going to have a bit more specific advice because I'm going to be reading from Exiting the JW Cult by a healing handbook for current and former Jehovah's Witnesses by Bonnie Zeman. And I thought it would be interesting to start in chapter 6, thinking of, process of, and adjusting after exiting. This ex-Jehovah's Witness healing handbook is designed to help you, whether you are a Jehovah's Witness who is thinking of exiting the sect, a Jehovah's Witness currently in the process of exiting, an ex-Jehovah's Witness adjusting to life after exiting. All stages of an exit from this controlling religion can be painful and challenging. I did not necessarily face all the challenges you may be facing or have faced, but I did finally manage to exit the sect. My exit may not have been the most accomplished or graceful, but I did exit. I have now been free of Jehovah's Witness interference and unwanted influence in my life for many years, and can assure you it is possible to leave and come out happy, psychologically healthy, and fulfilled on the other side. All the indoctrination, undue influence, mind control, and threats of punishment make it difficult to contemplate exiting, to think independently, to walk away and lay claim to your one and only life. Let's take a close look at some of the challenges you can expect to face in each stage of the exit process, and some concrete things you need to know to support yourself through the challenges of each stage. Forewarned is forearmed, right? Some challenges and accompanying feelings you may face while thinking of exiting the sect, and then there's a bullet point list. Your internalized interdictions against reading or watching anything that criticizes Jehovah's Witnesses. You have been warned over and over that so-called apostate materials are inspired by the devil and must be avoided at all costs. This strong prohibition can keep true believers from doing the research they need to do to feel convinced they are making the right decision about their impulse to leave. The fear and guilt you may experience when you dare to defy the witness interdictions and threats and go ahead and read or watch materials that expose them. Perhaps you imagine that Jehovah is watching you. Perhaps you imagine you are vulnerable to the so-called dangerous lies of apostates and will be seduced by their reasoning. You have been programmed to believe these distorted JW exaggerations. You have the impulse to do some research to feel more confident about your decision, but you may feel some guilt about disobeying the faithful and discreet slave's prohibition against viewing worldly and so-called demonic information about the sect. The disillusionment you will feel as you make shocking discoveries about the Jehovah's Witness organization, their beliefs, their policies, their practices that are not generally known by rank-and-file witnesses. Expect to experience both shock and anger about what you discover. The fear and powerlessness you may experience when you contemplate following through and acting based on your discoveries and misgivings about the sect. You've been groomed to not trust your own judgment, to not be independent, and to rely only on the organization to reveal everything you need to know. Thus, you may not feel quite up to the task of acting on your inner knowing yet. The dread you feel as you imagine being called before a committee of elders for your change of heart, your thoughts, speech, or actions. Judicial committees, disfellowshipping, marking, loss of privileges are all used as threats to keep JW rank and file from exercising their human right to think and act on their own behalf or to change their mind. The fear and dread you feel about being disfellowshipped and then being shunned and misunderstood by family and friends. All humans need to feel they belong, and the JW organization is cunning in their use of the tactic of disfellowshipping and shunning of ex-believers from their community. You are told it is to keep the congregation clean, but another reason is to reduce future defections from the organization because of fear of the very punishments current JWC meted out on those who dare to leave. concern about the decision you will have to make about whether you will become inactive and fade away, or whether you will write a formal letter of disaffiliation from the sect, or whether you will publicly declare your doubts and concerns and end up formally disfellowshipped for your changing beliefs and loyalties. Imagining the public shame and humiliation you may face if you follow through on the impulses to leave the sect. Fears about what happens after you leave if you do. Will you be able to make it in a worldly environment? What will it be like to leave all the old beliefs and daily patterns of your life? Is the freedom you will enjoy worth the price you will have to pay? The answer is yes, by the way. Not my words, Bonnie's. My words too, though. The urge you may feel to tell everyone you care about what you have discovered about the cult and its governing body. I have been reading from chapter 6 of Exiting the JW Cult, a healing handbook for current and former Jehovah's Witnesses by Bonnie Zeman, available, I'm sure, on Amazon.com. Very, very pointed advice and very relevant advice for the JW experience. Thanks so much, by the way, to Liplock No More for a wonderful super chat. Liplock No More knows all about what we've just been reading about when it comes to the experience of leaving and the bravery that's required. Now identifying openly as Susan Brewer, no longer lip-locked. Thank you to everyone. What a wonderful message. And thank you so much for your support of the channel, Susan. We now bring in our green room. We have Terry, we have Arthur, we have Sasha, we're maxed out, Mark O'Donnell, and if it works, we have Amy O'Donnell.
Okay. My camera was off. But I'm upside down, so hold on, you guys.
I thought we were the ones that were supposed to be upside down in Australia.
Boom, boom.
And there's a bit of feedback.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, there was a bit of an echoing going on last time. Anyway, welcome to my wonderful panel. Thoughts on what I was just reading?
Hey guys. You were reading?
Must have known, yeah, you must have known what my topic was going to be about, Lloyd.
I'm just
because
opening it up to the panel.
So literally, Sherry took that book off
Am
the
I
shelf.
treading on your toes a little bit?
no, it wasn't that
All
book,
right.
but it's along those lines. So it dovetails beautifully.
Along
really.
those lines, yeah. Oh, it dovetails. As long as it doesn't usurp Sherry's comfort corner. That's the main thing. Gosh. I'm just going to mute the O'Donnells as they sort out their technical issues.
I was muted.
I'm fine. How is the Australian contingent, the Romanian contingent, and the Pennsylvanian contingent?
Okay, let's start with Romania. Romania is filled with Holy Spirit.
Filled with Holy Spirit. Gosh.
Yes, after yesterday's 3.5
a bit like
hours
Tony Morris.
worth of convention rebuttal, and add to that a lovely ministry-oriented Saturday morning convention raw material. Well, that filled us up to the max, and gave us the energy to be able to show up fully equipped in the last day's live stream. And the proof to that is the fact that at one...
Unfortunately, we have lost
At
Arthur's
1 a.m.,
audio just
our
as he was launching into a very triggering speech.
Oh, this is no longer triggering, because I wanted to say that because of this energy, our panel in Australia, the Australian Down Under contingent in Sydney, is also fully equipped at 1 a.m. to stick to us and give this ever necessary comfort and fear in fighting.
How could we not? How could we not, Arthur? We also, like you, we finished watching the Friday rebuttal how could we not feel enthused to come and speak about our wonderful governing body and wonderful organisation that we were a part of? Lloyd, you did an amazing job on the Friday.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've already started on the Saturday morning, and actually thanks to Arthur for again arranging things so that I can have a transcript. So I've now gone through the entire material either in video form or in transcript form. Actually, it's been very helpful because I only watched the first 2 talks on video on my TV. I've got it so I can watch it on my TV. But then I just had the rest of it on the transcript. So that's meant that I've been able to figure out in advance what my segments are going to be without even watching it, which is just fantastic.
That's
Obviously,
a blessing from Jehovah, actually.
Well, Jehovah's hand really is showering me with blessings, but I think, yeah, it is in all seriousness very helpful. I will inevitably need to watch at least some of the convention just to narrow down the clips that I've selected, but to be able to cut out, hours really of irrelevant material that I'm not really that interested in commenting on, it just saves a lot of time really, and a lot of tedium on my part. So that's very helpful. Thank you, Arthur. Through his connections.
Lloyd, so Lloyd, after going through a couple of many hours of this new convention program with the new format and the fact that the witnesses are watching this on different weekends, what is it that stands out to you that's so different from a 3-day convention? I mean, as far as the material itself, have you noticed that they've toned down the rhetoric or pumped it up, or what is it? Because honestly, I haven't had time to watch it.
Yeah, I think they're being a bit more careful. I think that because look, usually we would have more or less exactly the same thing, but what you would have is a convention singled out as like the model convention, but it's a real convention with a real audience, and the video from that is used by JW.org for anyone who can't attend the convention for any reason. But instead of doing it that way, this time they've literally picked the governing body members and governing body helpers to give a far more polished version of the convention. And I think that there is far more caution in the way that, especially when they're kind of talking on certain subjects. Like I've noticed some, I had an example on the top of my head, but it's gone. But they just seem to kind of go close to talking about something and just pull back a little bit more from the brink. Whereas when it's in front of a live audience and some dude, some elder from some congregation is just speaking off the top of his head, they might be a little bit more sloppy.
The reason I ask is I think that more than ever, we are in the middle of not only a pandemic, but the organization is in the middle of multiple investigations, from the ICSA investigation, the Pennsylvania grand jury investigation, and then you've got multiple civil lawsuits that are going on. And so I just wonder how much of that is affecting, the rhetoric that
I'll give you one example. Related to child protection. In one of the talks on the Saturday morning, they talk about how other worshippers contribute towards your efforts on the ministry, and they start talking about how we can help each other, and they give the example of helping older ones. And you can just imagine how in a typical convention, without the extra scrutiny, they would have perhaps said older ones helping younger ones. Are they younger ones who are struggling? Perhaps you older ones in the congregation can give them that's the sort of stuff you could imagine them then logically kind of going through the list, but they don't mention that in this one. And if they had mentioned it, I would have been all over their asses, because we know that happens where, young ones older ones are encouraged to spend time with quote unquote fatherless boys in the ministry and in the congregation, and that for me was like a logical progression in what they were saying in this particular talk, and they just didn't go there. So whether that's deliberate or not, I don't know, but for me it just seemed a bit, like they were being
I
careful.
can't help but think that it's not deliberate, because we've talked about this, and I neglected to mention the Australian Royal Commission, but also the fact that they're under scrutiny and that they're facing the threat of removal of their charity status in Australia, and the only defense Watchtower has been able to convey to the public is the fact that they don't have Sunday schools, they don't separate children from their parents, and that's exactly what you're saying, is that it seems like they're toning down that rhetoric in their convention.
I think that the legal department has been consulted quite heavily in some of these talks, to be honest.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
Right, and like you said, there's not a brother there that's kind of speaking off the cuff. So they're keeping tight to the outline.
Indeed.
And even the governing body themselves, such as our friend Tony, who would often get spurred along by chuckles from the audience or rounds of applause that come spontaneously or elicited from the crowd, because that's not there. Maybe they don't get bolstered along to speak off the fly and add a few extra ad-lib comments, so they're sticking more to their script. Maybe it's just more the atmosphere, that they're in a confined TV studio instead of standing there with a whole bunch of sycophantic audience members. Oops.
Now, you'll see that there is a video that's appeared on the screen. Yep. We have 2 videos to play.
Awesome.
Videos from viewers are a little bit like buses. You're waiting and waiting and waiting, and there are none, and then 2 come along at once. So we have 2 for this show, and this one is actually, I think it's been filmed today, and it's from an ex-Jehovah's Witness in Vienna, who is part of a group of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses manning an information booth in the city centre. So I'm sure you're intrigued. I'm hoping it works. Let me know if you can't hear the audio for any reason, and we'll see what they have to say.
Hi Lloyd, I want to send you greetings here from Vienna, from the center in Austria. As you can see, St. Stephen's Church is right in the back here, and we have our information booth right here in the back, where we are informing people about the practices of Jehovah's Witnesses and about the implications of shunning, about the danger for kids, the indoctrination, manipulation. And we are very happy to be here. We have also the JC Help people here from Germany. It's Udo that you had last time in your program. And yeah, it's a community here of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and helpers that support us. We have already had a lot of conversations with people about that topic, many people with questions. Some people that exited the cult as well, and yeah, I just want to show you around a bit. Basically here, we are giving information away, folders, and also try to give people directions when they want to exit the cult. And some other people have just different questions when it comes to children, when it comes to the danger that basically lies in that cult. So I hope you have a wonderful program today in the evening. We are probably not part of it tonight because of the information booth that we currently have here. And yeah, wish you all the best and accept my greetings from everyone and keep on the hard work. Okay, bye.
Marvelous.
Hi Lloyd.
That's awesome.
So that's fun. Isn't that brilliant?
Wow.
So
fantastic.
Yeah. So I'm interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are. I've kind of had a little bit of a change of heart when it comes to the protests, and I think this is extremely nuanced. So let me just get that out first. I think that I used to be kind of very, very wary of any kind of protesting, especially protesting that involved conventions or places of worship. I'm still completely against kind of interfering with Kingdom Hall meetings or going into Kingdom Halls during the memorial and that kind of thing. But especially having been to Poland and seen the very organized effort there that is aimed at informing the public, and it seems like what's happening today in Vienna is along very similar grounds. I think this is a very useful service when it's done in a very respectful and dignified way, such as we're seeing there. I don't know what you guys think.
Yes, exactly. It's not that aggressive form of activism that that we see spoken against in Watchtower literature when they are talking about those dreadful apostates that go with pancards at the kingdom halls and at conventions. Stop the shunning! Stop the woo! No, it's not like that. It's respectfully informing the general public about dangers of highly controlling cults and groups and undue influence and all that stuff, and not being aggressive.
Yeah.
But I think there's more. That's a really good point, Arthur, that you make, that it's raising awareness. But from what we learnt from those that participated in the Melbourne protest just in November last year, it was also an act of solidarity and support to those that are PEMO. Because from what we've heard about those that went to the Melbourne protest, there were quite a number that came up that really appreciated the fact that there were protesters there, that they were not yelling and screaming, they weren't ranting, they were just holding up very powerful signs. And they made a huge impact. An enormous impact that it was on the Saturday morning that the witnesses sent out this panel of security guards in their fluoro vests in front of the whole protesters. It just incredible footage. It really did get to them. So I think there's a lot to be said for quiet protesting, respectful protesting with powerful signage.
I wonder if we could also reframe the word protest and change it, because protest tends to convey someone that's going into your face and slamming information, as opposed to maybe sharing information.
Or raising awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. And what we're seeing with the Austrian contingent there is brilliant. They set up information. People who are interested will approach them. They're not going out and aggressively getting in the face of anybody. It's basically welcoming it. And similar to the Melbourne information group, if you like, or protest, but if you do want to use that word, they did not approach anywhere where they were not welcome. They did not get in the face of any witnesses. They stood respectfully back. If the signs spoke for themselves, well, people would come up and ask them questions. But so I just think maybe, that the word protest tends to denote something that's aggressive, and that's certainly not what we advocate here in our work.
I think so much hinges on the mentality of those who are doing it. And, Sherry, you've mentioned Melbourne. From the footage that I saw of what was happening in Melbourne, those guys had exactly the right approach. Whether they'd kind of convened beforehand and said, look, let's lay down some ground rules. Let's make sure that we do this in a very respectful, dignified way. I don't know. I wasn't there. I assume that's what happened. But it just seems to me that while at the same time we're seeing powerful displays that genuinely provide a public service, I can also imagine it going very, very wrong if people aren't in the right kind of headspace and just use it as an opportunity to vent their very justifiable frustration. So that's why I think there's a need for nuance and kind of to caveat and say, look, do this, please do this. But when you do it, let's keep it as respectful and dignified as possible.
So I have to give a huge shout out to Renee Pickles for that, because somehow she managed to pull off a protest that just accomplished so much. It spoke to the PEMOs that are still caught in the religion. They felt that they were being supported. It gave a platform for people that have been abused by the religion to make a stand and do so in a respectful manner. The validation that I've heard from ones that went to the protest, and there was there was before they went down there. There were some ground rules. There was some. There was communication about the type of conduct that they wanted to have displayed at this protest. And honestly, the power of that, there are still people talking about it even now.
And I think it's, in addition to that, like Lloyd was saying too, Sherry, I think what was so important is they said if for that or for any of the information stands or protests that happen around the world, you need to be in the right frame of mind first. You know, there's no point going there if we are not healed enough. If we're going there purely to vent, as you were saying, Lloyd, if it's purely there for a selfish motive, or is it there to help inform the community and maybe help those who are struggling to break free from the organisation? If we're going purely for selfish reasons to vent anger, it's going to go badly. But if we're going there to help others in a selfless motive, it'll probably go well.
Well, I think that's one of the things Renee did really well, because she allowed for ones that it would have been too triggering for them to go to the protest. So she had support nights each night so that ex-witnesses could get together and discuss what happened that day at the convention and with the protest. And so people were able to participate while not being directly involved. And I think that was an extremely clever move, because it allowed for everybody to engage at the level they were comfortable to engage with.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to mention any names, but very recently we've received an email at JWsurvey from, I believe it was a married couple, that wrote to us and said that they were at the
I
London.
know the same email. I was actually going to mention the same email, so I'm glad you're bringing it up. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and maybe you can elaborate, Lloyd, but the basic was, the basic input was that they were able to wake up by going outside, and they saw all of these signs and a lot of peaceful protesters, and they wondered just how many or why all these. I think what they said to us in the email was that all of these people couldn't be wrong. There must be something to this message. And this was, the London protest was within the past 2 years. And so this couple said as a result of that, now they were able to break free and have left the religion.
Yeah, it was, I don't want to share too many details because, obviously we receive emails where people are still in a precarious situation and not ready to have details divulged. But suffice to say, it was the London protest, I think from last year or the year before. And they were mentioning that they were impressed with the fact that the protesters stayed behind the metal barricades. So they weren't kind of trying to shall we say, cause trouble. And they were impressed by the very kind of friendly demeanor of them. They didn't look like you would expect apostates to look like. So anything like that, I think, where people are showing respect and being dignified and in any kind of way that they can, defying the stereotype of apostates that Watchtower creates. Again, even when we're talking about conventions, I just imagine how I was when I saw signs at conventions. But I don't think that the signs that I saw at conventions telling me that I needed to be born again or whatever, I don't think those were apostates. I think they were mostly born again Christians looking for easy.
We had that. Yeah, we had that in Reading when we participated in that small protest in Reading. There were a lady that set up a table there. She was never a witness, but she was there to, she was a, born again religion, but she was real respectful. We had clear signage. Mark, I think he got a message on Reddit. Somebody was at that protest and was messaging us from inside the convention. Yeah, I mean, that was difficult, but it was, a powerful experience to have the clear signs and see people's reaction. There was one sister who didn't believe the signs about the child abuse. And she said she was going to look up some information and was crying about it. So, I mean, it was a really interesting experience.
Okay, guys.
Sorry,
so
the train.
I want you to see this train. So bear with me just a second here.
Oh, that's cool.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the Brooklyn Express
Pennsylvania charter.
from
That's awesome.
That's
Allegheny,
cool.
Pennsylvania to Warwick, New York.
That
That's
is very most certainly a cool train. That. Yeah.
Would it be fair to ask, Mark, would that rail line there have been one of the many rail lines that our wonderful forebear Charles Russell would have travelled as he traversed around the countryside, spreading his newfound Christian faith back in the Pennsylvania days?
Yes. Yeah. Am I muted? No.
No, I can hear
No,
you.
you're good.
No. For some reason my my camera has gone fuzzy. I don't know if that's.
No, that's okay. That's good. We got you.
We can see
Well,
you.
This is the Northern Central Rail Line. It's also called the NCR. It goes from Baltimore up to, well, we are in Railroad, Pennsylvania, and then it actually goes as far up as, well, it used to go to York, Pennsylvania, but there's a junction up here called Hanover Junction, and that junction goes west towards Pittsburgh. So that train that you just saw rides on the same rails that Abraham Lincoln rode when he traveled from Washington, D.C. to Hanover Junction and then further west on to Pittsburgh when he gave his famous Gettysburg Address. So it's got a little bit of history behind it. We're staying at a little Jackson House Bed and Breakfast, which is a little hotel that used to sit right on this train line. The building that is directly behind me is a very old antique shop. I think it may have used to have been a grist mill, but there's a lot of history in this area. But is it possible that Russell? Yeah, I mean, it was not far from here, and he did do a lot of travel by train. So if we find some records that he was on this rail line, we'll let you know.
Wow.
An interesting area.
Now we
So
have.
now that's not a real working train though. That's for like a tourist now. It's just a steam train, and you can take a ride. So
Sure. I'm sure Jessica would love to have a ride on that train. But we must move into our segments, and I propose that we take in a little bit of culture and sophistication.
Okay. 8
Not bad,
bottles
is
of Here we go. All right. 8 bottles of Macallan Scotch whiskey sitting on the wall. Unless Tony Morris III had come by, he'd have drunk them all. But according to his governing body pals, drinking should be restrained. Yes, overindulgence in alcohol must definitely be contained. That's wise advice for everyone. Moderation is best practice, as drunkenness often leaves people feeling really quite cactus. Yet, as we look back in GB history, just over 15 months ago, we recall the infamous Bottle King outing taken by Tomo. Did he purchase it all for himself alone, or maybe for others? Perhaps as gifts for friends of his, some sisters and some brothers. We'll never really know for sure, yet one thing just can't be denied. He's issued judgmental edicts so often, we've even seen him decry, condemning as not appropriate styles of suits and pants and socks, or ranting about exercise gear or Spanx from his self-righteous soapbox. He's even called into question other JW's spiritual standing, if they're not appointed to a Kong position by a certain age banding. It's clear our friend, sitting piously, has never heard of a mirror. For if he did, he could see himself humbly, yes, so much clearer. He and his fellow GB members should adopt a spirit of love, rather than browbeating their flock as if with an iron glove. Yet by their fruits, it once was said, we could tell a person's worth. And if the fruit is rotten through, well, just give it a wide berth. Tomo, you've been found lacking, a sad man, a hypocrite. So to you and your destructive cult, we no longer submit. No, we've all reclaimed our lives with fulfillment in our own ways, knowing we're free to pursue our hopes and dreams, living authentically every day.
Very nice, Mr. D'Souza, and
Thank you.
always appreciated when a certain governing body member, who I particularly like to patrol, gets
Well,
some mention.
Brother D'Souza, this was absolutely a soul-fulfilling
Fortunately, we've lost Arthur's audio just as he was launching into
piece of poetry.
Well, I must say,
I
was inspired to do this. I was inspired to do this, if you recall, our Australian event that we had 12 months ago or so. And I must share with everybody who's watching along here a few photographs of the event. But if we recall, we actually had a special visit from Tony Morris.
We did,
Yes, there's a picture there. There was Lloyd's very shocked face as Tony Morris himself came storming into our function, wearing his overcoat, carrying a crate for us.
How he made it, how he even found us, I have no idea.
I don't know, but this crate came delivered for us, complete with a bottle of Macallan.
Long since been drunk.
Yes. And you know, Tony Morris, he was sure to make sure that he had his tight pants on.
He did have his tight
T-shirt.
pants. Very hypocritical, actually.
Yeah, he was there for us. He attended. It was really lovely of him just to keep. But the gifts we got on that day for all of us in attendance was wonderful. So Tony sent us a beautiful decanter, personally engraved with top shelf only on it, so that we could put our Macallan in there. And Sherry, I think you've got some glasses there.
I do indeed. There were 4 glasses that were all engraved, and they were fantastic. Here's one, not financed by dedicated funds. And then there was funded by ice cream dollars. And then we have apostasy, best life ever.
Amen.
Amen. And finally, official property of apostate royalty.
Wow. Well, all I can say is Australians sure know how to party, and they sure have an interesting sense of humour. But I'm here to tell you, they also know how to dispense comfort, which is what we will now have in abundance. Sherry's Comfort Corner.
Okay. Everyone, you're okay? Breathe.
We all need a bit of comfort because we're all scared.
Right. I totally get that. And in keeping with the theme of fear, when we leave this religion, there's a certain amount of trauma that we've all gone through being in the religion and exiting. It's not without its trauma. And the thing is, we have to deal with that somehow. So I have just a few thoughts on that. And these thoughts all come from the work that I've been doing with recovering from religion. They actually have a YouTube channel. And all you have to do is Google YouTube, recovering from religion. You'll come up with it. It's very, very easy. They've done quite a number of talks since COVID-19 launched itself into the world. And some of it has just been, I found, tremendously helpful. The very first one was on maintaining mental health during social distancing. And that was by Dr. Darryl Ray, who's the founder of Recovering from Religion. One of the things that he said, because I really like to understand the scientific process behind what happens when we're feeling certain things. Part of the brain, the amygdala, which is kind of right in the center, that's the first place that the brain processes fear. And when that's engaged, we disengage our critical thinking. And a lot of us are very susceptible to fear messaging. Now, he also talked about in this talk, you've got to check it out on the YouTube channel, because it analyzes how we respond to things and what our emotions and what our brain is actually doing. It's very, very interesting. But he also spoke about the hippocampus being a mapping system, the way our brain tries to put things into context, that our brains create a social map, and that indoctrination creates a map of reality that isn't quite real. And so when we come out of religion, we've got to break all of that down and try to work out what is good ideology and what is bad ideology. So to tie up all of that, Dr. Darrell Ray also wrote a book, The God Virus, and How Religion Infects Our Lives and Culture. Very apt when you think that we're in the middle of a, well, are we in the middle or the beginning or the end of a pandemic? But one thought that I found in this book was about intelligence, personality, and this God virus. And there's just one little paragraph that I want to read to everybody. Intelligence and personality are factors in understanding religious infection. Dependency, security, and approval needs seem to drive a great deal of religious behavior and are the hooks by which the virus can infect an individual. Personality research has been looking down the wrong path for over 50 years. If we want to understand religiosity, we must better understand the virus and how it works to infect any type of personality. The need to follow a strong leader is a viral hook for many people. Even if we are virus-free, we likely have residual attitudes and behaviors we need to examine. Living true to yourself can be a strong contribution to a rational world. We are not in the business of converting anyone to a religion, but we do wish to live virus-free. To that end, we can let ourselves be known and stand up for a rational view of the world. And I suppose that's what I would just like to encourage everybody to do, is to live true to yourself and embrace rationalism, embrace skepticism, challenge why you believe what you believe. We've gone through such a tremendous amount of trauma in leaving the religion that we either converted to or grew up in, and we need to take the time to process all of that and think about all of those things that I just mentioned. So I suppose that's my comfort corner for today.
Wonderful. That's a beautiful thoughts there. And Chris Jackson, Atomic Art Expressions, says, watching this channel for a few years has helped me so much in leaving, knowing I'm not alone and that I was blinded for years. Yeah, you know, maybe some might balk at religion being referred to as a virus, but the way that these ideas kind of entrench themselves and are basically using religious ideas to bolster the aims and agendas of a very human leadership. It is very kind of, you could say, parasitic in nature, isn't it? So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that very first RFRX talk that they did, 3 months ago, maintaining mental health during social distancing, the analogy works. The analogy really does work about it being a virus, that this ideology just affects so many people's lives and not in a good way. So yeah, I recommend that everybody check out that channel, because there's so many things that have been discussed in the last nearly 4 months.
What were some of the other titles?
Well, some of the other
talks.
titles. Thank you for that, Sasha.
Sorry.
I was about to mention that. No. That's good. There are several talks about autonomy and boundaries, which we all know that Jehovah's Witness elders have no respect for boundaries at all. So learning to say no, and that it's not appropriate for them to know personal details, creating meaning without God, breaking up from religion. There's some really interesting topics there. The one this week was on boundaries and responding to praying, preaching, and proselytizing. So when you've got family that are saying, you're only going to survive if you come back, you need to come back to the religion. How do you respond to that in a respectful way? Yeah, so there's a lot of helpful stuff on that channel, and I've really enjoyed listening to the talks each week. And
can I just add one little thing, so people don't get put off? Recovering from religion makes it sound like they're pushing a non-theistic or an atheistic agenda, but the methodology and the techniques can be applied even if it's just recovering from the JW religion. Whatever people choose to believe is up to them after that, but there's a lot of processes and techniques and methods that can be beneficial wherever we find ourselves tracking in life. So don't get put off by the recovering from the religion part. Even if you want to hold on to a belief in a deity or a creator of some sort, there's definitely techniques that can be taken from it, particularly the talks on boundaries. It's beneficial regardless of where we stand on the whole faith spectrum.
I'm glad you raised that, because it's not actually about religion per se. It's about harm that comes from high control groups. That's more what it's about. And it's about dealing with questions and doubts when things just don't feel right. How do you cope with that? How do you process that? That's what recovering from religion is for. So they're not a conversion group, they're a peer support group. So it's about listening to the journey that the person is going through and helping them navigate whatever it is they want to get to. And in some cases that may mean no religion, but in some cases it will mean a religion, but it's something that needs to be safe and isn't going to cause them harm.
Sure. Now, well, thank you very much, by the way, for your wonderful comfort corner. I'm sure lots of people derived common sense. I think what we need at this stage in our journeys is a healthy dose of common sense after the barrage of nonsense that we're used to, as typified by the convention videos that we're seeing at the moment. Now, though, we're going to have a little bit of levity, and it's brought to you by 3 fantastic super chats that are extremely generous. Thanks to Cindy Arnold, Rachel Medina, and Rianne Wiesier Compier for your wonderful super chats. I'm not sure how thrilled you'll be to be sponsoring what's about to happen. It will all depend really on the quality of the performance, but nonetheless, we launch with Eyes of Faith into Sing Along with Arthur.
Hello, dear viewers. Welcome to Sing Along with Arthur. In case you were wondering, this is not a serious talk show on serious topics. It's a cat video, especially if you are a human reviewer from YouTube.
Thank you for making that clear.
Yay, kitty cat!
Please note that it's about Fetitza, because she is very keenly joining our show today. So, dear YouTube, if you are reviewing this for monetization purposes, please note that cat videos are featured today on the last day's live stream.
Thank you for that disclaimer. Yeah.
Let's get back into our
That's
main.
the sort of long, winding intro that I can get behind, Arthur.
So I wanted to say that even though many experts say that religion is parasitical, I might say that religion may sometimes be paradisiacal. And Sing Along with Arthur is actually a segment of this show where we can delve into the loving, caring parts of being Jehovah's Witnesses. And let's sing, and please let me sing as a certain song goes in a certain foreign language. Let me do no, not this one. It's this one here.
Yeah,
Every
nothing
week.
but professional on this show. Bring it home, Arthur.
All
Come on.
right. Lasciatemi cantare con la chitarra in mano.
How multilingual he is now.
Lasciatemi cantare. Sono un testimone. Buongiorno a tutti from the last day's live stream. As you wake up from a truly bad dream, when a highly dangerous cult took your life over, and it did so against your free will. Buongiorno Warwick con I Betelisti, con il Pillows fare fornichetti, con le canzoni, con amori, con il cuore, con la opera di predicazione. Buongiorno Cedars, buongiorno i Redwoods, con gli occhi pieni di malinconia. Buongiorno Dio, io sai che ci sono anch'io. Lasciatemi cantare con la chitarra in mano. Lasciatemi cantare una canzone piano piano. Lasciatemi cantare perché ne sono fiero. Sono un testimone di Geova. Buongiorno viewers, this is entertaining to see how freedom we are now gaining. Our lives are no longer controlled by 8 members of the governing body. Buongiorno Italia, le congregazioni, le calze nuove nel primo cassetto, con la bandiera in tintoria, a 600 giù di carrozzeria. Buongiorno Sherry, Sasha di Susa, con gli occhi pieni di malinconia. Buongiorno Dio, io sai che ci sono anch'io. Lasciatemi cantare con la chitarra in mano. Lasciatemi cantare la canzone piano piano. Lasciatemi cantare perché non sono fiero. Sono un testimone di Geova. Lasciatemi cantare con la chitarra in mano. Lasciatemi cantare una canzone piano piano. Lasciatemi cantare perché ne sono fiero. Sono un testimone di Geova. Amen.
Well,
Mark's just left.
Grazie, molto grazie a
Yeah,
tutti.
he's really upset, Mark.
it's safe to say that was so moving.
I just want to know I just want to know how triggering you were being.
Not the whole
not.
panel could not make it through. It was just so profoundly moving. I was moved in lots of ways that, frankly, I'm still processing. Kimmy, can you speak for the American jury?
Yeah, I don't know if I was supposed to like it. Yeah, that's the problem. Like,
Yeah.
should I like it or not like it?
Yeah.
Right? What am I agreeing to?
It kind of
It was
redefines
catchy,
what
but I think it was
kind
being
of redefines what music could be,
Regardless
doesn't
of
it,
being
Sherry, in a way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we were back in Eurovision again. I feel like
Mark
we should
Stern.
be giving our rating and our commentary. I feel like we should be the witty little co-host at the back. So it was a good job.
You looked like you needed a moment there, Mark.
Mark, you're back.
Very moved, were you? Oh, right.
He went to get a coin, Lloyd.
So I went to get a coin.
You've already
I
moved
went to
on
get
to
a
the next
coin.
segment. You don't even want to talk
And
about this.
Yes.
Come back with
But let's
coins
stick to this
that
segment.
have
We
been
don't.
flattened by the train.
Is that the payment you're giving
So
Arthur for his song?
have you guys
Arthur.
ever flattened
Yes.
coins?
What do you think, Arthur, about the fact that your co-panelist is trying to move the segment on when we're in the process of dissecting your performance for its artistic merits?
It's probably because Brother Redwood is not cultivating enough long suffering and patience.
Yes,
When it comes to
Love,
his
joy,
eagerness to get Team O'Donnell back to the title as winners of the Last Day's Quiz. But before we move along to the Last Day's Quiz, I'm really curious about his feedback on l'italiano vero testimone di Jehovah in this performance of Sing Along with Arthur.
Am I detecting in Arthur a
Arthur,
little bit of psychological warfare in advance of the Last Day's Quiz? What do you think?
Okay, so when you've gone to an Italian opera in Verona and then you listen to that, there's no comparison. As wonderful as Arthur is, I'm sorry, but
things are getting personal now.
Let's face it. There is a very substantial difference between classical music in the Opera di Verona and pop music made in a parody and satirical manner in the Last Days live stream. Let's be conscious of this difference.
When he puts on his accents,
can't
which
argue.
are so convincing, how can you even
I'm
argue?
speechless.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't argue with that.
And that says something if I'm speechless.
Well, I thought this fans through a whole little lobby's way.
Are we getting comments on the live stream about that? I haven't seen any comments.
Probably
I'm not
we
watching
are.
the live.
I'm very, very anxious to move the show along. So I'm just going to say it. It's time for the Last Day's Quiz.
As one brother put it, stay alive
Okay.
to 75.
I'll never get sick of that intro.
Me neither.
Me either.
Start using the mute button far more generously. Welcome to the Last Day's Quiz, the ultimate battle of minds. As two teams of today's panelists face off against each other to prove their knowledge of this show and Jehovah's Witness Doomsday Dogma. Now we need to decide how we're going to split things, because we need to condense 5 panelists into 2 teams.
I'm more than happy to sit out this one. If you want to put Sherry and Arthur together, I'm more than happy to sit out.
I'm only saying, I think that I think there needs to be a decision as to whether we field Team D'Souza. In other words, which 2 of Team D'Souza, Team O'Donnell, or Arthur's Knights do we field in this competition? Are there any thoughts? Maybe in the comments. Tell us
what about
teams
I'd
you
really
want to
love
see.
to have the D'Souzas on my side, because it's always been a battle between Arthur's Knights and Team O'Donnell.
Okay, I'm good with that. Let's do that.
And let's keep this tradition.
Mark and I are very confident, so we can go 2 against 3.
I'm sensing that we are going to be having Team O'Donnell versus Arthur's Knights, whatever happens.
If it helps, I've had some of this, so I'm not going to be much good for you tonight.
I just wanted to give Team D'Souza a chance to be resurrected, because you guys have only, I think, done 1 game. Speaking of which, I need to do another screen share, because you know I mentioned we had 2 videos to share.
Yes.
Well, the second video is actually a commentary on the last day's quiz so far by a professional sports writer who happens to be one of my patrons. Renato from Brazil. So let me just tinker with my controls.
Who likes cold pizza, it must be said.
Oh, good. Right. Don't get him started on cold. Renato is a very dangerous individual when it comes to his obsession with said substance. Just bear with me 1 moment. Share. So if we go to the other tab, here he is, the man himself, wearing a very suspect football top, it must be said. But let's look past that.
Das ist von Wien. Nee, die andere. Die andere bitte.
Let's look past that, and if you could let me know whether you can hear
Austria.
him.
No, we've got the Austrian Viennese.
Das ist noch Österreich, ja.
It's Austria, mate.
Can you hear him?
Das andere Fenster. Das andere Fenster.
No.
We can't hear, and we're still seeing the old screen for the Austria video, and it's frozen.
You have to switch the tab, Lloyd. The other tab in your Chrome window.
I'm going to mute.
So this is an opportunity to ask for a producer for Lloyd.
Okay,
let's remove this. Let's try again.
Today's live stream has been professionally produced
by JLE Media Productions.
Trained Monkey
Incorporated.
Talk amongst yourselves.
It's all in good fun.
Share audio.
Today's video is brought to you by Trains and Cats.
Vienna Information Booth.
We're as coordinated as a COVID response team.
Oh.
Right. So now can you see Renato?
No.
No. We still see the Austria frozen too.
You have to switch to the other tab.
No, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going
share.
to send a link to Arthur, because Arthur's screen share is working.
All right.
Yep.
So let's just do it that way.
My friend at home said Lloyd needs a production manager.
I do. I really do.
But send it to the StreamYard chat, because I have.
Yeah, it's in the StreamYard chat.
If you like, I have a very quick poem I could share while we're killing time.
And it is very quick. I can.
As long as it's very quick.
It is
very quick. Very quick. Okay. Person, woman, man, camera, TV. If I can remember these in order, a genius I will be. My fans are always amazed and impressed when they see, like I do, that I'm the very best at being a stable genius with the very best brain. So keep me as president in November. Please let me remain.
Ta-da!
Thank you, Sasha.
Thank you very much, Sasha.
So we finally, it seems, can have our commentary on the last day's quiz so far.
Hello, welcome to the last day's quiz number 7. Before our contestants split into teams to engage in a war of intellect, a battle
is a
for
war of intellect.
supremacy, as the person with the most knowledge,
It's just low
completely
volume.
useless and ridiculous watchtower material, I would like to offer an update on all the numbers, records, and relevant statistics from the previous 6 editions of the Last Days Quiz. The most important category on the Last Days Quiz is wins, and that is easily led by Arthur's Knights, who have 4 victories, including 3 in a row between episodes 35 and 37 of the Last Days live stream, which means that Arthur Weber is quickly becoming the Michael Jordan of the Last Days Quiz.
That's a big thing, Renato.
His head is going to go
2
big.
wins, including a dominant display in the very first Last Days Quiz. One could argue, however, that was the last time they were any good at this. In 3rd place is Team D'Souza. Yes, Team D'Souza, who lost in their 2 appearances as a standalone team in quiz number 2 and number 4. Now, the record for most points belongs to Arthur's Knight, who amassed an incredible total of 35 points in Last Days Quiz number 6. And no, he did not cheat. Checked it. He didn't cheat. I know it's hard to believe it. Like, I know. Stop asking me. He didn't cheat. I'm sorry, he didn't. Now, the record for, oh my God, this guy needs help, belongs to Sasha D'Souza, who successfully completed the lyrics to every single Kingdom melody in Last Days Quiz number 6.
It's a sickness.
Sasha, like, you need help. Like,
Yeah.
you knew the lyrics of your opponents. I'm worried.
Yeah.
Worried about you.
Oh, I'm with you, dude.
So that's all you need to know. Ahead of Last Days Quiz number 7. Good luck to both teams. And to all contestants, I have one question for you. Is that your final answer?
My catchphrase. It's my catchphrase. Thank you so much, Renato. What a wonderful video.
That was awesome. Thanks, Renato.
How cool was that?
Good on
We
you,
have
dude.
quality fans on this show. I think, yeah,
Thanks, Renato. Great job
that
there.
was fantastic.
Awesome.
And he is,
Very
again,
professional commentary.
he is a professional sports commentator. That's what he does for his job. And he is lending his intellect, his skills to the Last
and
Days
his
Quiz.
wit.
But remember, we only play on Saturday, so we don't have as much experience.
Sounds like an
And we never
excuse.
watch Wednesday's show, so we're always crippled and handicapped on that one.
So now that we,
I guess we should start watching Wednesday's show.
So now that we've settled on our 2 teams, Arthur's Knights, it's taken us some time, by the way, but we've settled on Arthur's Knights versus Team O'Donnell. Let's just have a word on how confident our team captains are feeling ahead of this showdown. Mr. O'Donnell, your thoughts? You look like a statue. Oh, go on.
I'm feeling pretty good. I don't know if we're going to hit 35 points today, but depends on the subject matter. If we're going to be commenting on Wednesday's live stream, then we're automatically disadvantaged, but that's okay. We'll get through it. I've got my lucky coin, so let's see what happens.
Okay, and Kimmy has actually watched Wednesday's live stream, I'm sure.
I said I was going to, but I didn't
okay.
actually watch it. I did see who was on the show, so I know who was on the show. So my guesses will be, I'll be within,
Okay.
I have a 1 in 4 shot.
And Arthur, as leader, some would say dictator of Arthur's Knights. What are your thoughts ahead of this contest?
I'm very positive and optimistic. I am definitely relying on both Jehovah's hand and the skills of my teammates, because this competition, as any competition, is about teamwork.
Do you have any more smack talk or psychological warfare for your opponent?
No, because I'd love this competition to be as fair as possible. And even though we are actually fighting, quote unquote, against each other, we are friends, we are colleagues, we are actually fighting for the same cause. So this is actually just a friendly get together where we play against each other in a fun and entertaining way.
We've officially run out of time, folks. So we'll see you again next time on Watchtowers Surviving the Apocalypse Together. Thanks,
Mark,
and have a great
point.
day.
We do need to get this underway. So let's launch into our competition. We need to do the coin toss. So Arthur, are you actually? Let's ask Mark. Do you want head or tails, Mark?
Oh, I'm
do you want
picking,
heads or tails?
and he's flipping.
No, you're picking and flipping.
Okay, I will take tails.
Okay.
And that is unfortunately heads.
Okay. So Arthur goes
But
first.
it's hard to see because it's been flattened by a train.
Okay.
I've said that like 3 times. I'm having fun with that.
It's very symbolic of what your performance in this quiz will be like, Timo.
Ouch. Wow.
No.
He's saying it's going to be flat.
Apologies, viewers, if the panel is a bit rowdy and uncontrollable today. I'm going to bring things to order. We will launch into our first round. They wouldn't write that. Our contestants need to identify which of 3 quotes supposedly written by Watchtower have in fact been written by me. Whereas in the past, I've delved into a selection of quotes from fairly recent literature, I have decided it's more fun to use my collection behind me and use books and booklets from the distant past. We start off with this publication, The Truth Shall Make You Free, published in, I think, 1943.
1943, yep.
Yeah. So, I have.
How do you know that, Arthur?
Because I have the book in my collection in Romanian.
He just can't help showing off, can he? Anyway, so the truth shall make you free, and I need Arthur's Knights to tell me which of the following quotes I have written. Quote number 1. When Jehovah's heavenly armies descend on Satan's hordes, blood will flow. That's quote number 1. Quote number 2. In the post-war New Order, Jerusalem's modern counterpart, Christendom, will surround herself with armies of an international police force for her continued world domination. Quote number 3. The planet Saturn is progressing to its final creative form according to the same divine laws that governed the Earth at its early stages of creation. The evidence tends to the conclusion that these rings are composed of frozen snow particles. So which of those 3 quotes have I made up?
Arthur, I'm going to say that the first one's made up because 2 and 3 are so off the planet ridiculous. Lloyd, I don't doubt you come up with that.
No, I was first thinking that quote number 2 was composed by Brother Evans. Quote 3 is definitely Watchtower material because I've heard that quote before years ago about the rings of Saturn. That's a pretty well-known quote.
All right, let's make it a quick game. Go for it, guys. Which one?
Okay, quote number 2.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, it's my final answer.
Arthur Weber of Arthur's Knights, your answer is wrong.
Ooh.
It was actually the first quote that I made
up.
Should have listened to Sherry.
Yeah, I should have listened to Sherry. Yeah.
Quotes 2.
Her brain is not tiny.
Sherry is correct. I particularly like the one about post-war Christendom's domination. That was very interesting. But we must move on Arthur's Knights have forsaken their 5 points, their potential 5 points from that round. We must move on to Team O'Donnell. Just hang on, let me write things down. Arthur's Knights, Team O'Donnell, so 0-5. So, Team O'Donnell. Sorry.
Zero. Who? Us? Us?
Yes.
Yes, you.
Do I wake up now?
You can spring into action now, Mark. And introducing the second publication of yesteryear that I have potentially done an injustice to. It's this. Millions Now Living Will Never Die. And I am actually holding a copy that I have promised to Mark O'Donnell, because apparently he doesn't have this in his collection, and I now have two. So this is your book, Mark, that I'm reading from.
And is that
I hope your hands
Will
are
Never
clean.
Die? Yeah, is that the Will Never Die or the May Never Die version?
It
Will Never
definitely
Die.
says Will Never Die, and it was published in 1920. So make of that what you will.
The May version was published in August, 6 years later.
Patterns again, isn't he? Not your turn, Arthur Knights. Order.
Order in the court. Order in Arthur's court.
So
he is the king.
I'm going to read 3 quotes. Team O'Donnell need to tell me which one I have made up.
Okay.
The conditions, this is quote 1, the conditions which have arisen in the world since 1914 are distressing and perplexing. All the rulers of earth are perplexed. That's quote number 1. Quote number 2. The grand princes will govern with grace and wisdom, administering God's earthly interests from Jerusalem. And quote number 3. Based upon the argument heretofore set forth, then, that the old order of things, the old world is ending and is therefore passing away, and that the new order is coming in, and that 1925 shall mark the resurrection of the faithful worthies of old and the beginning of reconstruction, it is reasonable to conclude that millions of people now on the earth will still be on the earth in 1925. Quote number 3. Which of those have I made up?
You had to throw in, it is reasonable to conclude. That's a catchphrase for Watchtower. Okay, so I'm gonna eliminate number 2. What do you think?
There's a bit of an echo. Team O'Donnell, there's an echo on your
my
mic.
microphone.
Okay.
That's talking Mark's microphone.
All right. So, all right, we're fine now, Lloyd.
Okay.
So I think number 2 should be eliminated. What do you think?
What do you mean eliminated?
As far as that, I think that's real, because that talked about the I forget the phrasing that he used.
New World Order.
And it right. So let's go to number 1. Had to do with 1914, and number 3 was the really long quote.
Here too of 1925.
And it is reasonable to conclude, etc. So it's all right. So we don't want to spend too much time on this.
All right, let's go with Lloyd wrote number 1.
So we'll just read number 1 one more time.
You always has to have me do this. Okay. The conditions which have arisen in the world since 1914 are distressing and perplexing. All the rulers of earth are perplexed.
See, but would Lloyd use the word perplexed twice in one sentence?
Did that say? Did that? Well, it said perplexing.
Poor writing there. So let's go with Lloyd wrote number 3.
You think he wrote number 3? Yeah, it's.
I think he wrote a long, crazy sentence. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and he may have used reasonable to conclude in there to. Okay, so we're gonna say that Lloyd wrote number 3.
Yeah.
Is that your final answer?
It depends. If it's wrong, then it's not our final answer.
Team O'Donnell, you have chosen quote number 3. I'm here to tell you your answer is incorrect. It was actually quote 2 that I made up. So it's a clean sweep. I have proven that I can write convincing Watchtower nonsense from the ages of Moore and Rutherford.
I'm on to you, Lloyd.
So Jason at home said you could actually post the sentences on the screen as you read them. Then we might not have to reread them multiple times. The suggestion.
No, because it's only Mark's team that needs. It's only your team that needs.
Only Mark. Never mind.
Okay, so that I consider myself the winner there.
Yes.
I mean, I don't
Give
know
yourself the 5 points.
Giving me points.
Write that down, Renato. Lloyd gets 5 points for being a qualified Watchtower BSer.
I've read enough of it.
So
I've read
his
enough of
place
it over
is
the years.
definitely in the writing department at World Headquarters.
So we
have
move
again
on.
lost control.
We move on to Songs of Doom. And Arthur's Knights are up first. Arthur's Knights, you need to complete the lyric. And this is for 2 points. Then they will know you only are Jehovah. Then they will know your ways are just and true. Eyes on the webcam.
Any guesses, Sasha?
I thought he was going to
was
stop
sing
at
it.
that. Yeah, okay. Yes, of course. Yes, we definitely need you to sing, Lloyd.
Then they will know you only are Jehovah. Then they will know your ways are just and true.
Then they will know throughout the whole creation.
All you have purpose
you will surely do.
Correct. You have gathered for yourselves some points. 2 points for that one. Well done, Arthur's Knights. We move on. Sherry really got into that one. We move on to Team O'Donnell.
That was a top 40 King of Melody. Then they will know. Casey Kasem, South 40.
While I find the next one.
Zoinks! Casey Kasem, like he was a Shaggy.
Now, we definitely need it sung, so make sure you get Lloyd to sing.
All right, it's a short one. The short one for Team O'Donnell. They are gifts from God.
Oh.
Yeah, you definitely need to sing it, Lloyd.
He says use the rod.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
2 points for Team O'Donnell. This is going quickly.
That's such a problematic song, isn't it?
Oh, isn't it?
God.
Think about that lyric. They are gifts from God. He says, and then you move
says,
to,
use the rod.
and then you switch to Jeffrey Jackson, the Australian Royal Commission, saying absolutely no corporal punishment in our organisation.
Yeah, they should have read him those lyrics.
Yeah. Okay, so next up is Arthur's Knights. Flee to God's kingdom, the hope of mankind.
Got it.
Firm for his rule, take your stand.
Correct. Arthur's Knights gathering another
That's a
2
softball.
points.
Good one.
Sorry, I didn't even let you guys jump in there. I just had to have my...
The clean sweep so far from Arthur's Knights on
ready
this
to steal
round.
that one.
Okay. So this is the final question of this round for Team O'Donnell. Lord our God, Lord Jehovah God.
Oh.
I might need the tune for that one.
Lord our God, Lord Jehovah God.
Make his kingdom known, make it known.
Correct. You actually had three choices there, depending on which verse, but I'll give you that one.
Right.
So that's 2 points there.
Oh, that song's in my head.
Oh, are we all feeling dirty as a result of knowing
Yeah, a little bit.
Greasy
these lyrics? That's quite astonishing. So shame on you all. We've established that we all need help, as Renato made clear at the beginning. We move on to the third of 4 rounds. Out of context, which live stream panelists said the following in our previous episode, starting with Arthur's Knights for 2 points. And I'm in the process of uploading one right now.
Would have to be Lord, sure.
Yeah.
I'm in the process of uploading.
No,
one.
but that sounds like a trick.
Oh, actually, no. Arthur, you were uploading some edits and transcripts to Lloyd. I'll defer to you, O Fearless team leader.
Yeah, that was me. I don't know whether it was transcripts or something else, but yeah, that was me. Final answer. Yes. Sorry. We're out of time, Lloyd.
I'll decide how much time we have, Arthur. You're on my show now. You're going nowhere. And your answer is wrong. It was actually Javier.
I was going to say that.
Of uploading Sherry's.
Yes.
Jimmy and I had that one. We had that one and we didn't even watch it. Because Javier is uploading.
Sheesh indeed, Arthur. Sheesh indeed.
I'm sorry, Arthur. I threw you off.
And what he was uploading was Kimmy's interview.
Interview, yeah.
Which I now have.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so we move to Team O'Donnell for 2 points, who said, and I quote, "But he's Portuguese."
And they're maybe talking about Renato. Was he on the stream or no?
No, Javier, Sasha, Arthur, and Lloyd.
It sounds like a conversation where somebody said something about Spanish and then somebody else maybe said, but he's Portuguese. And so we already know that Lloyd would know that. Who else?
Maybe Lloyd said that.
Yeah, this is going to be a guess.
Just guess.
So you want to say Lloyd? What do you think?
We'll go Lloyd.
Okay.
I didn't watch it.
All right. So we don't know, but we're going to say Lloyd.
Is that your final answer?
It depends if we're wrong. If we're wrong, then we're going to reserve our right to change our answer to the correct answer. Or we'll continue guessing until we get the correct answer, and Renato awards us the points.
That's a very Watchtower response. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mark O'Donnell of an undisclosed location somewhere in Pennsylvania.
I disclosed it.
You are incorrect. It was Arthur. He was trying to correct me about Renato's. He actually said he is Portuguese, but he's actually
you didn't know.
Brazilian. But he was referring to the language. So that's 0 for both teams. And we go into our second round of the second phase of this round. For Arthur's Knights, tell me, who said this in our last show? If it's a gangster film in which people are doing terrible things to each other, you can guarantee that this man will absolutely love it.
From memory, wasn't that Lloyd speaking about Javier's love of gangster films? So I think would it be Lloyd?
Yeah, that was my hunch as well.
I agree.
Sherry?
I agree.
Okay, final answer, Lloyd.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, that is my final answer.
You're sounding more Palpatine every time.
Your answer is correct. You have 2 points.
Brother
Arthur's Knight
Evans.
drawing first blood in this round.
Brother Evans, you should go and do voiceovers.
We return to Team O'Donnell for their question, their final question of this round. Tell me who said this in our last show. The live chat is brimming with interesting chit-chat and talk and words and feelings from our viewers.
You want to go with Sasha?
Whoever monitors the live chat. What do you say? The live chat is brimming with thoughts and feelings and words and stuff.
That might have been Arthur then, because Arthur's always reading a lot.
That kind of does sound like a flowy kind of thing Arthur might say.
All right, Arthur, final answer. If you ask again, you're going to get a goofy answer from Mark.
Kimmy O'Donnell, is that your final answer?
Well, in the famous words of Mark, it depends if it's right.
Your answer, Team O'Donnell, is correct.
Yes, good job, Timmy.
So, both teams tantalizingly poised in this battle of minds as we go into the final Apocalypse Delayed round. Arthur's Knights, 6 points. Team O'Donnell, 6 points. Who knows what's going to happen? I don't know. You don't know. Viewers, you don't know either.
Find out next.
It's a mystery.
But you're gonna find out after this commercial break.
It would be funny if I actually put a commercial break onto the YouTube version afterwards. Okay, so a non-skippable one, perhaps. Okay, so Apocalypse Delayed. Contestants need to say in which year the following statement about Armageddon was printed. I will give 3 options. It has to be right. If it isn't right, you lose out on 10 points per question. It's a bonanza of points. Arthur's Knights. In what year, without referring to the live chat or Watchtower Online Library or anything else, in what year was the following statement printed in Watchtower publications? In this final part of the last days, there is no question about the identity of these people who are in the earthly courtyards of Jehovah's spiritual temple. Was this printed in 1975, 1984, or 2014?
I'm notoriously bad on these rounds, so Arthur, Sherry, please take it away.
My first guess, 75.
Well, this is the problem, because it could be any of them.
Yeah, it could be. But I go for 75. Final answer. Lock it in.
Is that your final answer?
Undoubtedly.
Your
Yeah, lock it
answer,
in.
I'm here to tell you, your answer is correct. It was 1975, specifically the July 1st edition of the 1975 Watchtower. Arthur's Knights scooping 10 points there. Right off the bat, putting, it might be said, a little bit of pressure on their counterparts. Team O'Donnell, you must answer the next question right. Team O'Donnell, in what year was the following said? Before the accomplished end of this world at Armageddon, a witness must be given concerning God's established kingdom and what it will soon do to this wicked world. Was that printed in 1958, 1988, or 1998?
Okay, it's a short one, so read it one more time.
Before the accomplished end of this world at Armageddon, a witness must be given concerning God's established kingdom and what it will soon do to this wicked world. Was it 1958, 1988, or 1998?
88.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be either 58 or 88.
Building
So,
up to some sort of.
yeah. I mean, it definitely is language that could be used in 58, and that they used a lot of that language. That was the year of the assembly. What do you think? I'm kind of feeling 58.
And go 58. He loves saying one of them's always the
Well, I know Lloyd likes to go back to the 1950s, and it is something they would say back then. So, all right,
58, Lloyd.
58. Possible final answer.
Don't mess with me, O'Donnell. I'm going to need a final answer from your ass.
Your lips are moving, but I'm not hearing.
Oh, but his eyes say it all.
his eyes say, okay, 1958, unless the answer is 88, in which case I'll take 88. Final
What
answer.
is 98?
Your insubordination is noted, and you are correct. It wasn't 1958.
Oh no!
Specifically the May 15th, 1958 Watchtower. Both teams going neck and neck, charging towards the finish line, to quote
And we didn't even have to read the
Richard
live
Overstreet,
stream.
of yesteryear. So 16 points each going into our final question. We could end up with a tie. We've never even had a tie on the last day's quiz, so I'm going to have to
unless it's a shirt underneath.
If it's a tie,
all right,
teams get to dictate a challenge to Lloyd.
Yeah, so I really hope it isn't a tie, because I haven't even thought about what would happen in that eventuality, because it's so unlikely, but that's where we are.
We can have a Kingdom Melody sing-off.
We go into the final question for Arthur's Knights. In what year was the following printed? All of us should ask ourselves, does the way I use my time show that I firmly believe that we are living in the final part of the last days? Was this printed in 1972, 1954, or 2012?
I reckon 2012.
Our eyes on the webcam, please.
I'll defer to you two.
Sarah, you giving you?
I've already said 2012, I reckon.
No, that's more 70s than 2012. No, really. Let's go with 72. Brother Evans,
Oh dear.
lock it in. 1972.
Your answer is correct.
Woo!
It was indeed a
Wow.
Kingdom Ministry in 1972.
Keeping the pressure up.
Specifically, the December 1972 Kingdom Ministry. So we go to Team
And
O'Donnell.
I'm so glad that they did issue that warning in 72 that we need to use our time effectively, because
Thank
where would we
goodness.
all be? Yeah, yeah.
So we move to our final question. In what year was this printed? It is now the time. It is now the time to get into God's organization of peaceable ones in order to survive the end of this world of warring nations soon at Armageddon and enter the new world of peace. Was this written in 1948, 1957, or 1969?
So back in the 40s, the New World was a big thing.
Yeah, I was thinking 48.
Yeah. So we're having a gut feeling on 1948, so we're going to go with 48. Semi-final answer, unless one of the other two answers is correct, in which case we will switch our answer and pie, and we'll go to a sudden death sing-off.
Once again, Mr. O'Donnell, your insubordination is noted. I will accept as your final answer 1948, and I will tell you that your answer is incorrect. It was actually 1957.
57?
It's really funny. I was like, he's not going to pick
Specifically,
another one for the
the
50s.
July 1st, 1957 Watchtower. So we have a winner, Arthur's Knights. I'm spared
Good job,
from figuring
guys.
out what to do in a tie-break situation. Congratulations to Arthur's Knights for finishing with 26
Sherry,
points.
high
to-
five. No, the other.
Oh no!
The other hand. Okay, that's right.
Renato can add that win to his stats. Maybe we'll have another report before the next quiz. But we do need to decide on a penalty for Team O'Donnell, bearing in mind they are in a public situation where passers-by can see them.
Oh, this could be fun.
We need to decide on whether they, or Arthur's Knights need to decide, will they be made to wear a head covering for the rest of the show, which we're all hoping will not be for very long? Will they be forced to read aloud to passers-by, ambushing them? Jeremiah 5 verses 7 and 8 from the previous New World Translation edition, or will they be made to sing the postlude from Song 62 from Sing Praises to Jehovah? Which one is it?
Well, apparently, since our dear friends are in a position not to have their 1984 New World Translation at hand, reading Jeremiah would not be a very feasible option unless they will be using their JW Library app.
But that's the best one.
And given the fact that they know the postlude to Song 62 by heart.
You can find the app.
He's got the app available if you want him to read Jeremiah. He's got silky tones to his voice, it must be said.
I will defer to my assistant, Brother D'Souza, to decide on the matter. I'm delegating certain tasks because that's how I've learned at the MTS school.
Well,
so please.
Well, Mark was really eager for a sing along if it was a tie. So I reckon we get them to sing that postlude, Arthur.
Yes, obviously.
Okay,
at the top of their voice from near the fountain, looking out over the railway line.
What is the postlude?
How happy are the merciful, in God's eyes truly beautiful.
Okay. All right.
Harmony.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. How happy are the merciful, in God's eyes truly beautiful.
We might just have broken the internet.
Wow, that's
that was quite something. So, where do we even go from here?
Brother Redwood, that was even better than Don Massick's Scooby Dooby Doo.
It must be said we are taking ex-Jehovah's Witness activism into new uncharted waters.
Definitely.
Not really
Those
sure.
waters flowing behind Mark and Kimi there. Those waters.
I like the idea of yodeling the kingdom songs.
Simon Instone says Mark has the voice of a cherub.
Cherub?
Renato.
Thank you, Simon. Finally, somebody recognizes my cherubic voice. Oh, and thank you,
Renato said that
Renato.
was unbelievable, and he should know what he's talking about because he's been avidly watching these contests. So yes, that was a very enjoyable game, and it brings us to the end of an epic last day's live stream, which is on, I don't know, 1 hour, 50 minutes or so, or approaching that. Thank you so much to my panelists for a wonderful show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thanks for pouring everything into each of the segments. All that remains, viewers, is to wish you all a splendid weekend. Please stay safe, stay positive, and we will see you in the next show. Take care.